Sorry that the intro of this video is gonna be kind of messy. It's been a few days after the market actually, and I realized that I hadn't spoken throughout the whole video. It was just basically me showing what I was doing throughout the last couple weeks before the market, because I was making a new shop line for Valentine's and making Valentine's Day themed stuff, but also just new stuff in general. I didn't speak about it at all. I feel like, I don't know, it didn't quite feel right, or I guess I wasn't really in the mood to talk at all in the last couple weeks. I was just really busy, and I think I had other things on my mind than like filming, you know, like a catch up. I mean, I did do a journal with me video that I posted a couple of days ago where I kind of explained what was going on, but again, I don't know if anybody would watch that, and I feel like I wouldn't watch that back either. That's kind of like my creative process, so the yapping that I did in that video will probably just like go over my head and I will never look back on it. Basically, mid-January, since the last vlog essentially, I took a spontaneous trip to see my parents, and then I had a bit of a stomach issue. Like, I don't know if I had eaten something or something basically acted up, and I had to change my diet a little bit when I came back to the UK again. So I was just dealing with that, and I wasn't really in the mood. I was eating this almost like very plain food and like trying to get my like fiber up and whatever and all of that. So yeah, it wasn't like the best time, but also at the same time we had my boyfriend's birthday, which we celebrated. We ended up going just to spend the day out in town. We went to this like dessert place in town, and yeah, we had a nice time, but it was pretty chill. We didn't really do much again, so I didn't film any of it. We just kind of spent some time together, and then basically I was just prepping for the market that happened this past weekend, and that was super busy as well. I had some family come down and see me because they hadn't seen me do a market before, and I also hadn't seen my sister who came down for such a long time, and it was really great to like catch up and see her dog and everything. So yeah, that was really like great. But yeah, other than that, it was just been really busy. The whole video I was just basically filming bits and bobs that I thought, like whilst I was doing it, I was like, oh, I should probably film and set up and film, and like then I would keep going with my work and I'd forget that I'm filming. So I'm like, oh my god, like this clip is like 14 minutes long, right? So it was just kind of like me trying to cut that down and do a time lapse whenever I could. But yeah, in between I hadn't really been filming anything that I was doing apart from that. If I was going out or if I was, I don't know, doing shopping, cooking, I hadn't really been filming that because I guess I hadn't really felt the urge to pick up my camera and film, so I just didn't, to be honest. And maybe that will be what happens. I don't know. I feel like YouTube hasn't been at the forefront of my head. I mean, I'm still trying to post, I'm still trying to film every now and then, and I have videos planned as well that I want to do. I guess it's not been the time with the market, and I also started my new semester at uni this past week, and I've already got things to be focusing on. Like, you know, this is my spring semester, so after this one I do have another one, but I have quite a lot of like research based things to be doing this semester, so like that doesn't leave me with a lot of time to focus on editing. When you're already on your laptop researching about stuff and reading and like using your brain power so much on that device, then you kind of want to step away from it. At least for me, I then don't feel like using my laptop, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to look at it. So editing gets put on the back burner, and that's that. And I feel like that's just life. So throughout the process of me making this video and documenting what I'd been doing, I'm just gonna give a brief rundown. So basically I made new stickers, I made new cards. I did end up doing some zines as well, but they didn't turn out as well as I wanted. Did make a few new prints, but I also just basically restocked what had been selling a lot and what I heard my audience wanted for me to restock. So on Instagram, I made sure that the things that I was restocking, people actually wanted there to be available to buy. And I also made some new bookmarks and notepads. This was my first time making notepads, and I actually had a lot of fun designing them more than making them. I was thinking of also like purchasing them through a external like company, but it was honestly way too much money to produce such a small amount because I tend to do smaller amounts of things but a bigger variety. So usually it's actually cheaper for me to just print it myself and make everything myself. This time around I was looking through maybe some washi tapes as well because I was thinking about that, and I just looked at it and I was like, if I order this, I'm gonna have to sell this at a price which I don't think is going to be very accessible, like especially in this economy and especially in the town that I'm vending in. I mean, yes, I could put them online and hope that somebody would buy them, but I feel like because my audience is so small right now, I don't think that's really like a reasonable thing to do, to be honest. Like, I'm still learning how to promote myself and how to do the little like small business side of things and promote my art properly and like make content about it and things like that. You know, you don't really get taught these things. You kind of just learn them through other YouTubers, other YouTube people, other creators that make that sort of thing. So yeah, so I think that was pretty much all I made for it. Oh, I did actually make also new notebooks, and this time around I made a line of notebooks that had like covers, like different covers. So what I would do is use recycled paper and then lino print on my notebooks, which I still do and I still really enjoy, but I wanted to try something new and I did themed covers. So I'll put up a picture like what I mean, and you'll probably see it like in the video of me actually doing it. But that was really cool to see, really fun, like me making like proper notebooks. So throughout like the month of January, I was looking at places that I could apply for other markets that I'd never done before. I also wanted to apply to sell my products inside like a shop, like a stationery shop, galleries and things like that. So I've been sending off applications. I've been looking at open calls because last year around March time I applied to do an open call and I got in, and I ended up doing my first exhibition that way. Obviously it was around my town, so it was really small, but it was really, really cool and really precious, and I really, really enjoyed it. And it was such a cool thing to see my artwork displayed somewhere like in a small gallery. So I would love to do that again and maybe create some work for the open call like itself, you know. And I have been getting rejections, but I think it's because right now like maybe people in the town that I'm currently staying in are just established, and I will be trying to fly maybe around London. I don't know, I still have to do a bit of research on where I could apply, where people are taking and things like that, because I am aware that I will probably need a bit of budget as well, you know, before I apply and potentially get in. We'll see how it goes. I still have quite a few months of staying here in the UK for my studies, so I want to take, you know, every opportunity that I get to promote my art and see how it goes, so that I can potentially have more experiences and learn a bit more about the whole creative world. That's all I wanted to pretty much talk about. I hope I didn't forget anything. I hope that the rest of the video is enjoyable, and I hope you've had a lovely January and the start of February as well. I know Valentine's Day is coming up and I do have a trip coming, which is really exciting. By the time this video is posted, actually I will be on that trip, fingers crossed. So I will be filming during that, and you'll hopefully see that video in a few weeks. Yeah, very exciting, that stuff. I thought I would do a bit of a voiceover throughout some of the clips that I have of me just basically working, because it's all just time-lapse most of this video. I don't have that much footage, even though it looks like I do, because I have like over 30 minutes of this video. So here I was just drawing one of the prints for a card design that I currently have on my shop, and actually when I was drawing this at first I drew a bug inside, a beetle. I then stared at it for a bit too long and realized that I actually didn't really like how it looked, so I put a cat drawing that I did a while ago in it, and that just it just looked a bit better that way, so I left her at that. And from actually the clips that I had from Italy, I will actually insert them here, and as you can see I literally didn't film anything. I baked whilst I was in Italy and basically just did a lot of back and forth, going out whenever the weather was nice, and that was literally it. Here I'm just cutting out some stickers. I do cut out all of my sticker designs by hand just because it's not worth for me getting them all printed through a manufacturer. Now I do like know that the quality might not be as high as I would like it to be. Obviously, like, I cut the stickers, so each one will be a little bit different each time. They're not all very clean and polished, but I think especially now, since I'm just starting out and so my budget is not that high, I think it's okay. I mean, I don't sell these for as much as I would sell my manufactured stickers that I've done before. I have had manufactured stickers done in the past, and those were obviously really good and like really nice quality and a lot nicer to sell as well. But these ones that I'd produced this time, I just thought, because I had, so as you can tell, like, I have so many different designs, and a lot of the time I don't really know what things that I make look like in real life until I actually print them. So this is also kind of like a test run for me to see if I actually like what the stickers and the sizing looks like, and that way I am still able to sell them, like, obviously at a reasonable price, because these are paper based, so it's like adhesive that you can do at home and, you know, just print yourself. Because I do sell a lot of journaling supplies anyway, because I love journaling and I like to share it with other people and get other people into it, I like to sell these stickers for journaling purposes, and I make sure that people are very aware of that so that they don't stick them on surfaces that are not very suitable for these stickers. So I try to recommend people not to use these stickers too much on like their laptops or their water bottles, just because they're not water resistant, so over time they might leave residue and things like that. So I try to make sure people understand like what they are buying from me, obviously, if they choose to get a sticker. But most of the time, I mean I have stuck these on my like phone cases before, and they've actually been pretty good. Like, I've had them for at least I would say like 6 or 8 months, and they've held up pretty well on mine. And I obviously use my phone all the time. I touch it, so I rub the sticker, and they seem to be pretty fine. But yeah, I usually just sit, have a YouTube video in the background, and just cut away. Honestly, like, it's so therapeutic. A lot of the people who I meet at markets and they ask where I get my stickers, and then I tell them that I cut them all myself, they kind of give me a strange look, because they're like, wow, you have so many, you must have like taken ages to cut these. And yes, they do take a while. I think this time I took about a week to cut all of them, but to be honest, like, it's a very therapeutic thing for me, and I love just sitting down, taking the time to just do a repetitive task. I think it's very calming. Seen, I was just putting together some of the junk journaling packs that I make. So for my markets, I try to set up certain things that I don't do online, so that people are also a bit more encouraged to like come and visit my store in person. Just because I feel like on Etsy I have tried to put the junk journaling packs up and for people to like have a browse and maybe buy, but they haven't really been doing well online. I think just because people don't know me as much, and I feel like buying a mystery pack from somebody you don't really know can be a bit too out there. I feel like maybe even if I didn't really know someone that well, or their art style, or what they do, or what they sell, I wouldn't really be inclined to buy from them if they sell like a junk journaling mystery pack, because this is what they are essentially. You buy a little pack from me, and I basically just assembled stickers and bits of like scrap paper, some things basically that you can put a spread together, and there's quite a few varieties. So I sometimes do themes, so I think some of them have like a red theme, because obviously it was Valentine's, so I was also trying to keep that in mind, like maybe somebody will want a bit more of a red theme. But then I also did some random ones, like I did like a Paris inspired one, and then some more vintagey ones, or like Y2K and things like that, so like people have a variety to choose from. And obviously, yes, these just do a lot better in person. These sell better when they're sold at a market, just because people can pick them up and actually inspect maybe what's inside. Obviously not everything, because it is still a mystery pack, but I try to assemble them in a way that will let people know what kind of they can expect from it, so it's it's not like you're going in completely blind. And essentially I just tie them up in a little bow and try to make them a little bit more cutesy. I feel like they do pretty well during markets because you get kind of a range of things, and I guess it takes away the pressure from choosing yourself. Sometimes when I have a market and I have so many different things on display for people to buy, people tell me, oh, I'm sorry if I'm taking ages to choose, like things like that. And I always tell them it's fine, because I know that it can be overstimulating to stand over my stand and sometimes try to pick all the stickers or washi tapes and things like that. So I tell them, take your time. And sometimes these journaling packs is like a nice way out if somebody doesn't have too much time, maybe that they want to browse and they don't have too much time. So they're like, oh, this journaling pack, like she's probably put in like random assortments of things, and you know, you could just pick that out and go home and try it out for themselves. This little segment, I am just kind of doing a little draw with me. I haven't really done one before on my channel where I just draw on my iPad. I've done a draw with me video a few months back where I actually sat down and drew in my sketchbook in like real life, but this is usually what it's like when I draw on my iPad. These days I have been drawing a lot more on my iPad than my sketchbook, just because I don't currently have a scanner. So usually if I draw in my sketchbook and I want to make a print out of it, then I have to scan, I have to re-edit so that I can print it off and it will look the same almost, or at least close to the real life thing, and that can sometimes be hard, technical issues and things like that. So if I just draw straight on my iPad, I know exactly how it will come out most of the time. Obviously if it's like a colored piece, then it's a little bit harder to tell, but most of the time I have the same process as in my sketchbook. I do the first kind of layer of like at the basic shapes that I want, and then I go over it in a bit more detail and add like the smaller fragments of it. So in this piece I was drawing a cake. I've never actually drawn a cake before. I really love these types of cakes. These are my favorite cakes from an aesthetic point of view. I think they went viral a few years ago, maybe from 2020ish, or maybe even earlier. I think they're kind of called either Victorian style cakes or bento box cakes. I actually did try to make one myself a while ago for my friend's birthday, but yeah, it did not turn out too well. I don't know why. I think I always struggle with the frosting, and obviously these cakes are so detailed and so well like frosted. You have to have, I think, some sort of skill, or at least practice like for ages before frosting the real thing, because it's really detailed, and I don't think I have those kinds of skills yet. So yeah, I really am fascinated when I see these sorts of cakes that people make, and honestly this would be such a pretty cake to have like for a birthday or something. Like it's so a work of art almost in itself. It'll be kind of sad to cut it, I think. Anyway, the drawing process is pretty much the same as I would do in my sketchbook. The only thing that is different is, I'd say, the coloring, just because I have a bit less anxiety when it comes to coloring on digital, just because I know I can have it in a different layer. So if something goes wrong, I can just switch instantly back to the sketch, back to the original thing that I started off with, and start again if I wanted to. Whereas obviously in my sketchbook, if I choose to do ink or color or anything like that, the choices that I have to make then a little bit more intentional, just because I know that this is just how it's going to turn out, you know. So you can't usually go back and, you know, delete like you would in Procreate or any other software on a iPad or whatever. But yeah, so I tend to be a bit more free when it comes to coloring things in on digital, and I feel like that's probably why I've been gravitating towards it a little bit more around this time, especially when I'm doing a shop update. I'm trying my best to do things that I know won't really be messed up that easily, if that makes sense. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist that way, I think. So something that I also really enjoy during this time when I'm doing a shop update is bookbinding. Whilst I was at uni a few years ago, I had a bookbinding workshop, which I actually did a fair amount of, and I got taught a few different styles of bookbinding and how people do it a little bit more professionally. Throughout my life, I have been already making books and making my own sketchbooks and things like that, notebooks, especially for junk journaling purposes. I really loved the aspect of making it my own and kind of getting my hands on just aging paper and sewing and things like that. So it's also a very therapeutic method of doing it as well. So during this time, I thought I would make a new line of sketchbooks and notebooks, and this time round I was actually trying to do certain different styles in terms of the actual paper. So I had some plain paper, I had grid paper, then I had some watercolor paper as well. And usually when I do this, it's not too often because this does take a while. Bookbinding is a very time-consuming process, but it's also very rewarding. Basically, I had gathered some spare paper that I had, but I also had bought some, and I usually only make A5 notebooks and A6 because usually those are the most accessible for people to buy. I don't usually do A4 or anything bigger than A5 just because I think it's not as portable, and also I don't think a lot of people like big sketchbooks and big notebooks to do their work in. At least that's what I found when I've been selling these. Last year I had a line of I think 15 books or sketchbooks-ish that I'd made, and I think at least half of them got sold, and then the other half, I think one of them I gave away through my giveaway last month, and then a few of them I left for myself because I do like to use them as well. I think at one point I did sell them on my Etsy as well, but what I found is that people tend to prefer to kind of feel the book themselves when they're buying it. So what would happen online is I think I got a few messages asking me what the paper weight was like or if I could compare it to anything else, and because these are handmade items, there isn't really too much explanation that I can give to someone, you know, online on what the paper specifically can feel like, because obviously it's so different in real life. So I ended up getting rid of them on my Etsy, and I don't sell them online, I just sell them on my markets. It seems to be going well. So this time round, something I did a bit differently was I started using my own patterns that I'd made, my own illustrations for the cover. In the past, what I would make with sketchbooks, so the covers would usually be a set of card, like slightly thicker card, and then I would lino print on top of them and make my designs that way. And I do still do this because I do have quite a lot of card left, but this time I wanted to see what the outcome would be like if I had my own actual design. So this book I think that you are probably seeing me do is the Stony Angel cover that I did. So I did a Valentine's inspired cover, and I actually did quite like how this turned out, although I hadn't done bookbinding in a few months actually, so it came out a little bit messier than I would have liked. I also did have a few other ones as well, snakes and strawberry, but those ones I ended up stapling at my university. So at my uni currently I have the privilege of a staple machines actually designated for books, because usually you would need a very long staple gun to do it. So I'm privileged enough to use the facilities at my university, and that's also where I get my books cut. So usually when you do bookbinding and then you finish the book, it tends to be a little bit messy. The edges are not straight, it just looks not as professional, so I tend to get them cut at my uni. They have a specific machine to cut books, and that just basically cuts a lot of paper at once, and it makes everything super clean and super neat. So personally love to do just a simple kettle stitch. If you don't know what a kettle stitch is, it's basically the pretty standard bookbinding technique that people use. It's basically going in and out with a needle and thread to make sure all the books are kind of secure together. The kettle stitch is usually when you can make thicker books that way, because you can put a lot of stacks of paper together to make a thicker book, whereas the other ones that usually get stapled, or you just have like a simple saddle stitch, for example. I do a saddle stitch on my A6 notebooks just because they're a lot smaller, so there's less paper, so it's easier to kind of punch a hole in them and then stitch them that way. So the staple ones also have a lot less paper obviously, so that the staple can go through it. And those are a lot faster to make than the kettle stitch, just because you don't have as many holes to kind of sew the thread through. Yeah, honestly, this process is so rewarding. I, again, really enjoyed it, and I'm actually really happy with the notebooks I currently have. Sadly, I didn't have the best time management by the end of the week before my market, so essentially I didn't get to do any lino printing on top of some of the notebooks, and so they just ended up being plain. It's fine. I actually didn't end up selling them this time, so it's fine. I can still lino print on them at a later time. So yeah, like I said at the beginning of the video, the market went pretty well. I had a really good time setting it up, and I really love how my booth ended up looking. I had bought a couple of new bits and bobs here and there, boxed grid where I could hang stuff up, and just in general I think the setup was a little bit more organized than my previous stands that I'd done. I finally have like baskets where everything can be displayed, and in general I think it was just a lot more vibey. I was just really happy with how it turned out, and I'm glad that other people also really liked it, and I can't wait to do more markets in the future. I think this will probably be the last market and shop update I do for a while, just because of my priorities. I have uni currently to prioritize, and you know, other life things happen, so things get pushed back and things like that, but I do still want to do this and pursue this. I really love markets. I love the vibe, and I love sharing my work with other people and talking about my work in real life. Brings a lot of satisfaction for me, so it's great. So yeah, I hope that this video was enjoyable and that you got a glimpse of what it's like when I do a shop update. I know I hadn't really done a lot of behind the scenes of how I draw things or how I get to print things and stuff like that, so hopefully in future videos I can. If you enjoyed, thank you for watching. Like, maybe comment if you have any questions, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.